Hey everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about sports betting 101. And I can tell you, I've been betting on sports for over 30 years, and I just wish somebody had given me a guide when I first started back in college. So many mistakes that I made looking back, and I wanted to create a video, just kind of help some people that are just starting out with some basics. And then I'm going to continue to provide some additional videos as we go along with some more deeper concepts and sports betting strategies that have really made me successful over the years. So let's jump right into it. Now, the first concept I want to talk about is something known as bankroll management. Now, there's probably a ton of sports betting 101 type videos out there on YouTube, and probably none of them are leading with bankroll management. But I'm gonna lead there because I can tell you, looking back at my college days when I first started out, man, I wish somebody had taught me bankroll management when I first started. This is the number one thing you really need to grasp and understand when you're first starting. Just understanding how to be disciplined and how to have a strategy with your sports betting. I can tell you, like looking back, when I first started, I was making every mistake you could possibly make. I'd bet $100 on a game, I'd lose. I'd bet 200 the next time. Oh man, now I'm down 200, and by the end of the day, I'm betting 300, $400, trying to get it all back. And that's the worst thing you do: chase and try to get money back and not be disciplined. So that's the number one concept I want you to understand from the get go. So come up with a number that you're comfortable losing as a bankroll. I mean, we don't get into sports betting to lose money, but we just need to be realistic. It happens sometimes, and you might lose a bankroll. It's just the reality of the business. Doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to have losing streaks, and that's just reality. So come up with a number that you're comfortable losing. Make that your bankroll. I would say for somebody first starting out, if you're a college student like I was back in the day, $500 to $1,000 is maybe a realistic bankroll for you. But everybody's situation is different. People come from different situations. Maybe you're in a much more glorious situation than I was back in college, so maybe you've got more money to lose, but be realistic with yourself and come up with a number that at the end of the day, it's a number you can be comfortable losing and not losing sleep over. So let's assume for the purposes of what we're going to walk through today, let's assume that number is $10,000. Again, that's a big number for somebody first starting, but for the purposes of this presentation and what we're going to walk through, we're going to use $10,000 as our bankroll to start. And so once you've got that bankroll number, at that point you want to decide, what unit are you going to what is the unit total that you're going to risk on each of your bets? So that's typically going to be something that's going to be 1 to 5% of your total bankroll. So, you know, most people average probably 3% of their total bankroll. That's what they're risking as a unit for each one of their single bets. I would say, again, keeping it simple for somebody just beginning, I'd probably stick with 1%. Make it simple. Keep a very simple, disciplined approach starting out. So let's just say you decide that that's how it's going to be. It's going to be 1% of your bankroll. And at that point, that would basically mean that you're going to bet a $100 unit on each game, which is 1% of your bankroll. So that's how you're going to roll as you first get started. Now let's talk about odds now. Now you've got negative odds and you got positive odds here in the US. Those are the two types of odds. So minus 110 in that situation, again, assuming we're setting $100 as our bankroll each individual bet, you're going to risk $110 to win 100 when it's a negative odds, and then when it's positive odds, you're going to be risking 100 and you're going to win 110. So that's how those two different ways would work. All right, so now you start to understand a little bit about negative odds and positive odds. Let's talk about a couple different betting strategies. There's bet to risk, and then there's bet to win. And let's walk through how those differ in terms of how you're placing your bets. In bet to risk, you're going to risk $100, and your win is going to be 91. In bet to win, you're going to risk a little bit more money, so you're risking 110, but your take home on that is going to be $100. And it's the same sort of scenario over on the positive odds, where you're going to risk $100 and you're going to win 110, but on a bet to win, you're going to risk less money, so you're actually going to risk 90.91 because your goal is just simply to win $100. So that's how those two different scenarios work. I would say for me, my preference is just always to bet to win. I like to have that even number as my winning total, but everybody's got their own way to do it. I just wanted to explain the two different ways you can go about it. So let's talk about implied probability. So odds represent the likelihood of an event happening, and they determine how much money you can win. So every one of these odds that you're going to encounter as you're betting, there's a probability of the outcome behind that. So let's take, for example, a minus 400 money line team. There's an 80% probability that team is going to win. And it goes down the line. If you look at the underdog on a plus 400 underdog, it's a 20% chance that that team is going to win on that line. So it's important to understand probabilities and outcomes just so you understand like what are the likelihoods behind each one of these odds that you're taking a look at. And I would recommend just go online, do a Google search for sports implied probability. You'll find a chart that's going to have everything like that. Just understand it. You know, you're not going to look at it every time before you place a bet, but it's just a good thing to sort of understand as you're starting out. Now let's take a look at the first game of the NFL season coming up, Baltimore versus Kansas City, and let's walk through some of these odds. So you'll notice Kansas City is a -3. They are the favorite. The minus is always the favorite. And then you've got Baltimore at +3. They are the underdog. Underdog will always be plus. And it's the same thing if you look over there on the money line. You'll notice Kansas City is a -148 money line, and Baltimore is a +132 money line. So they are the underdog. Now let's talk about each of these individual bets. So on Kansas City, if you take Kansas City at -3 with the spread, Kansas City will need to win by 3.5 or more in order for you to win that bet outright. If Kansas City wins by 3, it's what's considered a push. You'll get your money back. Nothing happens. It's as if the event never even happened. For Baltimore, same thing. If you take Baltimore, that means Kansas City's got to win by over 3 points, or you're going to win that bet. If again, Kansas City wins by 3, it's considered a push. You'll get your money back. But if you're betting on the underdog, that basically means that the favorite has to win by whatever that point total is, by more than that. So in this situation, Kansas City's going to have to win by more than 3 points for you to lose that bet. And over the money line, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're just betting on the team that's going to win that outcome. So if you're betting money line, Kansas City -148, all Kansas City has to do is win the game outright. Baltimore, they're going to have to pull off the upset at +132. But as we just looked at with implied probability, it's actually not that crazy of an underdog to pull through for you. So it's important to know that the goal for every sports book when they set a line is to have equal payouts on each side to lessen the risk. So if we think back to that NFL opening matchup between Baltimore and Kansas City again, the goal of the sports book is to get 50% of the money on Baltimore and 50% of the money on Kansas City. But you'll start to see lines start to move when money starts coming in on one side more than the other. So in the case of that game, if more people start betting on Kansas City, you're going to probably see that line move from 3 to 3.5, maybe 4 points, sometimes even higher. Now, sometimes, injuries as an example. If all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes gets injured during practice this week and he's out of that game, you're going to see that line move significantly over back to Baltimore. So injuries will play a big part in line movement. Weather can play a factor. There's other factors, information that starts to come in that'll move a line. But that's why you'll see odds changing all the time. And I just want to show one example with Major League Baseball that just happened as an example. You'll notice the total open at 8.5, but you'll see that there was a ton of money on betting on the over, and so the sportsbook moved it to 9. And you'll also notice that they moved it to a -120 line. So that is what we will speak a little bit more about in a future video, which is VIG. And it's basically what the sportsbook is saying is they're trying to collect more money because they collect a VIG. Every time a bet loses, they will collect on that loss. And so if getting you to pay -120 on the line as opposed to -110 and they're raising that VIG on you, that's more money coming into the profit if you lose that bet. But we'll get into VIG and some of these other terms in a little bit more detail in some future episodes. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the importance of setting up accounts at multiple sports books. This is, again, something I didn't do at the beginning and I regret. I didn't have a YouTube to go on there and watch a how-to video at the beginning. So I hope all of you who are watching this are going to make up for all my errors, my ways back in the day. But, having multiple sportsbook accounts is going to really help you. And there's a number of reasons why. But let's just take a look at this WNBA total that I had pulled up as an example. And you'll notice the total here is just differing by sportsbook. You got 169.5 at BetMGM. It's 170.5 at FanDuel. So there's multiple different totals there. Every sportsbook is offering a different total. So if you're feeling very strongly one way or the other on that total, it's going to make sense for you to go play that bet at the total that's the best fit for what you're looking for. So you want to have multiple sports books for that reason. And the other reason is back to that scenario of what we were talking about with, bet the risk and bet the win, and then look at the odds. If you take a look at, for example, DraftKings at the 170, their odds are minus 112. And the other sports books are offering, Bet 365, they got 170 at 110. So if you think about risking 110 and you're going to lose 110 if you lose, whereas if you risk 112, you're going to lose 112, that's $2. And it may seem like a little bit, but it adds up over time. And so you want to just be smart. So when those losses do happen, that you're getting the best line and your losses is not as bad as it might have been had you placed the bet elsewhere. And to me, this is really all about just being strategic, being smart. And that's what I didn't do at the very beginning. And that's what I want you to do and encourage you to do from the get-go. So as we start to wind down on our first video for you, I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about the different types of bets that are out there. We've already covered a few of these, the Moneyline bet and the point spread, and we've talked a little bit about totals. Parlays are when you put in multiple teams or multiple events into a single bet, and all of those have to come together to win for you to win that parlay. So example would be, you take 4 NFL teams on the opening weekend of the season. You think the Chiefs, the Bills, the 49ers, and the Rams are all going to win. You put them all into a parlay, money line. So all 4 of those teams are going to have to win for you in order to win that parlay bet. So the payouts are much greater on those because you're taking multiple outcomes together under one, and they all have to happen in order for you to win the bet. So they could be very enticing. I would tell you that as somebody who's starting out, stay away from parlays. I'm going to do some videos in the future talking about parlays. I've had great success with them over the course of my career. I've had several, 6-figure, 7-figure payouts on parlays. But I will tell you, they're few and far between, and they could really suck you in. And as somebody first starting out, I did a lot of them at the beginning, and man, I was losing myself crazy. So don't do them. Stay away from them. I'm going to give you some theories and some strategies in the future, but just starting out, stay away from them, because what you're going to see is they're going to suck into your bankroll, and you're going to see your bankroll start to dwindle because you keep betting these parlays, and you might be having success on your individual bets, but then these parlays are just taking away all your income and taking away your bankroll. So let's just be disciplined from the get-go. Stay away from them. We'll spend some more time on them in the future videos. Prop bets is another thing that you can spend some time betting on. It could be something as simple as betting on the length of the national anthem. We'll spend some more time talking about prop bets in the future. And then you got futures. Something like the NFL season now just starting. A future might be you think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again. So you can bet the future on the Super Bowl with the Chiefs winning, and that payout would be something you could place a bet on. So we'll spend some more time on this in the future, but just want to really quickly cover some of the different types of bets that are out there for you. So as we wrap up this opening video, let's just quickly highlight some of the key things that we talked about and some of the main things that you really want to focus on as you get started. We talked a lot about bankroll management at the very beginning. Super important, as you know, and just managing that bankroll and being wise about it. We talked about multiple accounts at sportsbooks and how important that is, shopping for those best lines and how that's going to impact your bottom line and your profits. Do your research. When I first started out, I didn't have the internet. I couldn't go into Google and do a lot of research. I had to wait for the newspaper, or I had to go run to the store and get a magazine. So take advantage of everything that's available to you these days. There's a ton of information out there. And just know that these sports books, when they set these lines, you better believe they've got a ton of data behind them when they set those lines. I mean, there's how many times you see a game and you see a total and you're like, man, how did they get that total? Like dead on. Happens all the time. These guys are making tons of money off of bettors, and that's because people aren't smart with what they're doing. So don't be one of those folks. Be smart. The other thing is, obviously avoid that emotional betting. Be smart about what you're doing. Don't just bet on your favorite team. I mean, if you look at most money coming in on these games, it's all favorites and overs half the time. Well, not half the time, more than that. But I mean, everybody wants to bet their favorite, and everyone wants to bet an over because they want to see a high scoring game. So that's what people are putting their money on. Know that. You can take advantage of that a lot of times because you know that the public is betting on those favorites and they're betting on those overs. But again, just be smart with your betting. And the number one thing, just stay disciplined. That is the number one thing you can do. It's the thing that I didn't do at the beginning, and I wish somebody encouraged me. So just be smart about it. Take this as a business. Start out as a business, manage the money like it's you're starting a business and you're gonna build that business and be smart about it. So until my next video, I really appreciate you watching. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. Send me an email. I'm happy to help you as you get off on this journey, and wish you the best of luck. And if you have ideas for other videos in the future, send them my way. I'm happy to produce those and talk about them in videos. But hopefully my past and help you, and you can make up for all my mistakes of the past and be smarter and be successful right out of the gate. It took me a long time to be successful, but I'm going to hopefully save you the pain. And like I said, wish you the best of luck, and thanks for watching.